Mein Name ist Florian Munsch und ich bin hier für Goldgeld Welt in Australien, in Kalgoorlie, also einer der größten Mining-Städte im Outback Australiens. Und hier findet einmal im Jahr die Konferenz statt, die Diggers and Dealers Konferenz. Und hier treffen sich ganz viele Mining Companies, Bergbauunternehmen, Explorationsunternehmen, ja, aus der ganzen Welt kann man sagen. Und ja, ich habe hier die Möglichkeit, ja, mit David Flanagan ein Interview durchzuführen. David ist Managing Director von einem Graphit-Unternehmen, das sein Projekt in Mosambik hat. Und Graphit ist so etwas wie das vergessene Kind der Batteriemetalle, kann man sagen. Also wirklich kriegt es sehr, sehr wenig Aufmerksamkeit medial im Moment noch, wenn man über Batteriemetalle spricht, weil meistens Lithium ganz klar in den Fokus gestellt wird oder Kobalt. Und Graphit ist wirklich etwas, das kann in einer Lithium-Ionen-Batterie, darf eigentlich gar nicht fehlen und macht einen Großteil der Masse auch in einer Lithium-Ionen-Batterie aus. Und ja, um jetzt dem Graphit-Investment mal ein bisschen auf den Zahn zu fühlen, machen wir jetzt dieses Interview. So, David, yeah, very nice to meet you here at the conference. I was just listening to your presentation you gave. Maybe could you wrap up the story? What are you doing at Battery Metals?
Yeah, okay. No, thanks for the opportunity. Yeah. So Battery Minerals has two projects in Mozambique, graphite projects, and at the moment we're in the process of starting to mine our first project. Now that project, we have completed all the pre-feasibility study, the feasibility study, all of the test work. We have our off-take agreements, we have our permits, we have a port allocation, and we have about between a quarter and a third of the funding completed, and we will have completed construction of about a quarter of the project by the end of this year, with the intention of exporting graphites in early 2020. And it's a good project with low costs and good opportunity for strong returns for shareholders.
Good wrap up. I just told my audience in the German introduction that graphite is kind of the forgotten child of the battery revolution metals. So everybody is talking about lithium or cobalt.
Yeah.
But what makes graphite special, and why is it needed, and how are the market fundamentals, demand and supply side?
Yeah, no, it's a good, fair point. So basically the graphite price has responded quite well over the last year. So the graphite price is up about 50%. But it's kind of not as spectacular as some of the other commodities. But it's still a very good response.
Okay.
And the truth is, you can't make a lithium-ion battery without graphite. You can't make steel without graphite. So steel, and actually graphite now has been determined to have all these other properties. So if you want to stop a building from burning, you can use graphite as a flame retardant in the building construction. You know, it's a superconductor. It has all sorts of chemical properties which are wonderful, but one of the most important is its ability to sustain heat and to be a very safe anode in a battery. So if you want a safe, reliable lithium-ion battery, graphite has unique properties which mean it can't be replaced.
Can you build a lithium-ion battery without graphite?
No, not commercially.
Not really,
no.
Okay.
No.
You're operating in Mozambique, which is, I know about the ranking of investment attractiveness published by the Fraser Institute, and Mozambique is on the near the very bottom of it. And I talked to your chief financial officer, Jeff Dawkins, and he really, and also your country manager, and they explained to me why Mozambique is not at all a bad place to invest in. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit around the country and maybe the risks attached and the opportunities.
Yeah, well, I suppose one of the things which won't surprise your viewers is that if you go into a developing country, all of the infrastructure is not in place typically. You would need to conduct some investment. Well, we've been lucky in that geographically where we are, we actually have got infrastructure in place. there are roads linking our project to a port, and there is a port. The level of education in and around our mine is quite low. So being able to access that highly skilled labour, we do need to bring some people in from other parts of Mozambique, but there is a strong mining culture there, so we can do that. I would say that from a legislation point of view, some of the legislation is sort of in its, I suppose, immature stages, but all of these things actually present real commercial opportunities, because the government and the local people, as long as you are a responsible corporate citizen, but they want you there. They want to transform their country. They want their children to be educated. They want hospitals. They want schools. They want companies. And we've actually found that sometimes things do take a little bit longer, right? But I tell you what, they can be. I've operated in Australia. They can take longer in Australia as well.
How long did you take for your license? 1 year only?
Yeah.
So this is totally.
So it's not so bad, really. So that's worked out fine. There's a company operating in Mozambique called South 32, a really large company, and I have met with the CEO of that company, and they are a global diversified company, and he said that Mozambique is his favourite operating jurisdiction in the whole world. He has the workforce that is so productive, they are so safe, they are so dedicated, and his business is very successful.
That's a statement. Vale is also producing big times in Mozambique, as I heard of.
Yeah. So Vale, there's a number of companies that are operating there, and I would expect that the opportunity is now, because they are going to come up the ladder. I'm certain. Okay. So it's something I also wrote in a report I have written for my readers. So it's that you have to look for investment attractiveness, but be a contrarian in some way sometimes. No, that's exactly correct. Because one of the reasons why they're at that point is because the country is generally, there's an absence of prosperity across the board. As the investment comes in, the prosperity lifts, and as all those ratings. So exactly, that the contrarian element is real. Okay.
Do you see any risks associated with the jurisdiction? For example, your neighbor Tanzania. There was something developing to the bad in recent years.
Yeah, I'm familiar. So there has been a change in the taxation legislation in Tanzania, and I think that. Well, here's the reason why I'm quite comfortable with Mozambique, is that I'm not going to be specific about Tanzania, but some countries have got taxation legislation which is quite generous to the investing company, right? And there's an opportunity through that generosity that the local people don't feel as though they've had a fair outcome. The legislation in Mozambique is quite clear in respect to the benefits that must go to Mozambique. And on a global scale, Mozambique is not a low taxing jurisdiction. Okay, so we get depreciation of our assets, and we get those normal deductions against tax for profit purposes. You know, deductions against for profits. But we have a super profits tax. We have royalties, we have a free carried interest, so and there's also a requirement for the company to make firm binding commitments to local community investment and to keep to it. So
really important.
So generally the companies are doing the right thing. The government has got legislation which makes it clear it's not a low taxing jurisdiction, but that means that no one in Mozambique has lost a tenement. No one in Mozambique has actually had their mining agreement changed by the government.
This is really contrarian, because investing in Mozambique, in my mind, so I look at places like Colombia changing for the better. Mozambique is also a place. So
So our biggest shareholder is a family office called Farjoy. Now the biggest shareholders in Farjoy are very successful, very high-profile lawyers who, one in particular, did a significant amount of due diligence on sovereign risk in Mozambique before he invested, and I knew him before I got involved in battery minerals, and I myself have invested, and I'm very comfortable with the sovereign risk.
You say yourself have invested.
Yep.
Could you a little bit elaborate about the share structure, share price, ownership details, and so on?
Yeah, so there's around about 1 billion shares on issue, or 1.1.
Okay.
The share price is 3 cents, which equates to a market capitalisation of $33 million Australian. The company has $20 million cash in the bank.
20 million. I just nodded, but it's a lot.
2-0.
So you did a debt financing recently?
No. So some time back we did equity raising.
Okay.
Yeah.
20 million.
Yeah. So the company is well funded.
Okay.
Yeah. But we will need more money to complete development of the final part of the mine. But for now, for the next probably 6 to 12 months, we've got more than enough cash to sort of get us through that stage of development. And management of the company owns probably just under 10% of the company. The Farjoys, they own about 15%, and top 20 own about 40%.
Okay, so good insider ownership numbers.
Look, there's good alignment in there, but I still think that the share price should be a lot higher, given that there's an opportunity to develop 4 projects, each of them very strong cash flows. We think that in possibly 4 to 5 years, we've got the opportunity to generate in the order of $200 million a year Aussie cash.
If I remember it right, it's around 50 million capex to build the project fully. Okay. Yep. So you got 20 million in the bank. It's working capital. You will need to have more money. So will you go to the market again, or will you do debt financing?
Probably a bit of both. So there's a group we've appointed called Origin Capital. We've received some like I suppose expressions of interest from a number of parties wanting to be involved in the syndicate to do the debt funding portion, and Origin are managing that. And then there will be a portion of equity to go with that debt, and then we will execute the balance of the project. So the total capex of about 50 million for that project, we've already spent about 11.
Okay.
So there's only $38 million left to be spent on building the project.
Okay, so you will be in production at which time frame ahead?
Well, I suppose probably 14 months from completing finance. So if we complete finance in October, we'll be shipping early 2020.
Okay, very nice. Anything else you would like to add, or what we didn't mention yet?
Well, I suppose the company has also reported that we've got large amounts of vanadium in our byproduct. So
in the tailings.
So vanadium is another battery mineral, which is if you're going to build a high-rise building and you want to put a large battery in the basement of that building, the obvious type of battery to install is a vanadium flow battery. And I think that in the future those batteries will become more widespread, and at that time, or even at some stage, we will look at the vanadium. And the vanadium in situ in our project, in situ, it's before net of cost, but just that it's large. It's around about $10 billion worth of vanadium in the ground.
Wow. Okay. And
it must be worth something.
It probably is. And vanadium is also a battery metal not included in the electric vehicle batteries, but in the large storage systems.
It is. So a number of our offtake customers and a number of our backers see that as a synergy, and it's a natural thing for us to do. But first, we're going to start our first mine, generate cash flow, and then grow the business. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well.
Okay, cheers.
Okay, thank you.